Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Sebastian. Nice to see you.
Very needed, yeah, to have this time together.
Yes, very much so. I know that both of us have felt the crazy energies that has been going on in these changing times and in navigating, but also just how we feel inside and what we are experiencing in the outside world.
It's like being in a blizzard. It's quite difficult to orientate yourself and to navigate, as you said before. And not just on a local level, but also if you look out into the society and or global level, it's really, really difficult. And I think it's important that everybody understands that nobody knows the future. Nobody has a map.
No.
We have an understanding and we have an inspiration, but we don't have a map.
And I also think that's why we have created this concept, New World Pioneers, is that conscious people around the world are the ones who need to first become or make an effort to become at peace within themselves, and then try to find this way, try to build a new world that would create essentially a better future. But for now, to find out how do we navigate within this. That's also why we're come together today to have this conversation, because we also understand how important it is to listen to other people, to hear their experiences and to be able to share. So I'm very happy that you're here sharing with me, and I had, even in our conversation earlier on, that I also had an opportunity to share, because I think especially in our consciousness, we thrive to be as good as we can. We thrive to create a life that is of peace with ourselves and the people around us, and we want to be at service for our clients. We want to be at service for the world, and so even for us, we're in the turbulence. We're feeling that blizzard, as you were talking about. So it's extremely important to have these conversations, and hopefully as well with the people that we're inviting in. Thank you for listening into this conversation, to have the understanding of that we're here together. We're in this together, all of us.
And also to take some of the pressure off, because just a few months ago we had a sense of clarity and we knew our path, and now to not know, to really yield into the fact that nobody really truly knows what's going to go on, what's going to happen, and also just to release the tension from that, to convert from this trying to get security and get the old normal back. We don't want to go back. It's not the old normal. We have to increase our awareness and we have to increase our capabilities. And that's really, truly important. I sense it from my clients. They really want to have this kind of certainty of a plan. And as I tell them, well, in a blizzard, it's quite difficult to navigate, and it's actually sometimes dangerous to do too much, because you can't see where you're walking. The path is unclear.
And you also don't know what hits you from the outside.
No.
You know, it's so extremely important to stay in the eye of that blizzard. I know you met Dalai Lama, and I've been in the presence of him where he was sharing that nobody is able to stay in peace all the time. But if we have just this silent knowing that how to get into the eye of the blizzard, that's where we can find our safe space. And the way he described it and shared how he was never in constant peace, but he knew how to get into that space, I think that is important for us all to be reminded of, that we need to take that extra breath. And right now it's a blizzard, and it is going to go on for a long time. Normally a blizzard is passing, and it's almost as if everybody is waiting for that blizzard just to pass so we can get on with life as we know it. But because it's here for such a long time, and they are talking about a second wave, and because things are so dramatically going to change, things has not been this way since Second World War. So nobody knows what's going to be on the other side.
No.
And that's why, at least also as I was sharing earlier, that I'm so aware of how that the global situation is impacting me as an individual. Because even though I have succeeded in relatively finding my own peace, created a structure where I'm not forcing myself to do too much, but in this time taking more time for me, being more quiet. Also my holiday with my daughter, I'm trying not to do too much because of the stressed situation that is both in my own life, but in the global consciousness. There's so much stress that I can sense that we're not able, as a family, me and her, or the society, we're not able to do too much.
No.
So even in the holiday situation, we're trying to relax more than we would normally do, except instead of doing a lot of activity. So I love your talk about that blizzard, because it's extremely important that we are aware that things can also come from the outside, not only from the inside as well.
And through the media, we get a lot of the impulses are so negative and so full of fear. So of course it can paralyze a lot of people. And the important is here always to remember that the light is stronger than darkness. Light has no fear of darkness. So being at peace from the inside out, understanding our true nature, even though it's a difficult circumstances, give us the strength and the resilience to stand in the middle of the blizzard and be calm.
And even I think in the everyday life, that also comes with putting boundaries, asking for boundaries, setting boundaries. Because I know a lot of my clients, they have a board that they have to please, or they have goals that they have to please. Many people are coming back trying to reach not the same results, everything that they lost. They're not trying to regain everything, but they're trying to regain as much as possible, looking at the financial years still to be more or less stabilized before the end of the year. And even in those financial situations, we need to look at what the reality is, because we will not come back to a world that were there before. It will come back to another world, and we need to be very conscious of the stillness that we can create within us, can give new ways, can provide new answers. But both of us have experienced that at the moment we're being asked to do nothing or do much less than usual, because the world around us is not ready, is not established yet. The new normal has not been provided yet, because the world and the virus is still touring the world and may come back to us again. So at the moment it's about creating and nurturing our resources for who we are and the connection to that of which is greater than ourselves. And in business situations, it's about having the courage to sit still and ask ourselves what the resource, the capacity that we have, how can we help to create a better future? And then re-establishing new ways and new ways to assist our clients, and even to begin with assist our employees, because we cannot ask them to come back to work after lockdown in this insecurity. And you talk about the blizzard, we cannot ask them to come back to work and in the middle of the blizzard run like nothing has happened, because we're all shaken, we're all stressed in one way or another. So care is such an important word, I believe, in this situation.
And of course, to take care of yourself. Put on the mask first in the cabin.
And the mask is very relevant in these times.
and protect yourself. And of course, then also to protect the people around you. So the kindness you're talking about. If you can't do anything else, be kind to the people around you. because they are in the same blizzard. They're in the same circumstances as you are in. So try to expand your kindness, your compassion, because this is a predicament for everyone.
Yes.
This is difficult times for everyone.
Yeah. And I love what you said before this conversation, because I was sharing a challenging situation that I've been through in my life, where I had to establish some very strong boundaries, and in that the kindness was too much. Myself, my daughter, the kindness was to secure our space and our peace, and where I was sharing with you the difficulties in that, and the considerations I had, and where you were reminding me about those boundaries that we have to set, and that how everybody they have to be aware in any situation, whether it's private or work-wise, that kindness can also be to set boundaries so we can take care of ourselves. And I loved your perspective on that earlier on. And that is what I know in my own work at the moment. Every session I've had with clients were to find a way how to protect their peace. And it was about how to, in these times, create very strong structure as to what works for them, as to what builds their energy, how they are empowered, and how we're empowering their light, how we're empowering their inspiration for what they can be in the world, and for how we reestablish that foundation within themselves. And I can, with our conversation that we had earlier on, it was firmly strengthening as well my space in having that conversation, because there will be a gap in this situation where you will see the ethical behavior of people will differ. There are the conscious part of the population that will, no matter how hard on the pressure they will still be ethical, and they'll still work for the best of everybody involved. And then there will be people that are less conscious. There are people who have a different mindset. They will do everything they can to regain what they had before the crisis. They'll do whatever they can to use this crisis to gain only for themselves. And that gap, I call it, there's a shadowland between that. And before this crisis, I think many of us were trying to create a bridge so that we could help people from one side to the other. But what I have seen is that there has to be an extreme people have to be, all of us have to be careful not to use too much strength in trying to convince the other side how to move forward. But we have to build our own path forward. We have to build the right path forward that is the best and most nurturing for ourselves, for our clients, and for the world. And so your words that you just said earlier on in this conversation as well, about the light is stronger than darkness, I think it's extremely important to remind ourselves and all of you listening into our conversation that the more we nurture our own light and the more we act on what is right and protect what is right, being kind to people around us within that space, I think the better opportunity we have to find that new way and build that new way in a way that truly do make a difference in the world and for ourselves, for the people we love.
And as you said, the things that were wrong in the old world was fear and greed.
Yes.
And of course that when we are in a blizzard, when we are in this turmoil time, some people on a less ethical awareness level will act from greed and fear and try to gain from this. And people gaining from circumstances like this, it's not because they're evil, it's just because they're unaware of how destructive it is for the collective.
And even for themselves.
And even for themselves.
Yeah.
But that awareness has not come to them yet. But for a lot of people working with other people and with education and stuff like that, we have had this feeling of being not just obligated, but also a feeling that we can make everybody change. And eventually, I think we will. But right now, as you said before, we have to be very, very particular about our resources. Regain your own strength before you try to help someone else. It's extremely important to go from personal level to your local community, and then from there to grow.
Yes.
Don't try to make this la-la vision that everybody can be happy all the time. But that's not going to work right now. Not for us as individuals, and not for the world.
No. And I know that the people that are attracted to our work, the people that we get to help, are all people that are conscious people. People who truly wish to make a difference, who truly wish to create, to grow with their teams, grow with the world, and create make a difference with what they create. And that is also why I think it's a joy to talk to you as well, because we also remind each other that that is the focus. Those are the people that we need to focus on, and that is also our message to our clients, but our friends, people that are in our realm, to remind them that this is it. This is who we're supposed to focus on, because otherwise we're draining ourselves to the extent that we do not have energies to build this new world. And I think looking at pioneers back in time, what they have focused on is their own path, their own lives, how to create a better life, and creating communities where within that community they had common values, within those communities that they built greatness within that space, and slowly it rippled out into the community, sometimes with rapid speed, other times with a longer time frame. But no matter what it's about, sharing, first realizing and awakening these powers from within, and then sharing it with that community. And that's also why meeting with you in these conversations truly benefit not only those who are listening, I know, but me as well as an individual. And I know both of us is feeling that upliftment in joining communities, joining in conversations that are conscious and with conscious people.
And it gives a kind of, at least that's what I sense, a kind of like a sanity check. To check in with you and to be with you, to calibrate, to understand what's needed to be done, what's needed for us to do, but also to be realistic about what can be done. And that's the same I do with my clients. That, as you said before, that a lot of my clients are in business, and of course they come back from the lockdown, and everybody expects, as you said, to high perform and to work as hard as possible, to make the loss from this year as small as possible. And they also know it's not possible. It's unrealistic. It's simply not possible. And to have those targets, and then still to go to work and do the best you can with the resources you have, and still understand that even though you do that, you can't manifest the demands from the outside world. There's a gap between some people who are very realistic about what's possible to do, and then those who can actually feel this is not the way. This is not how to manage this crisis we're in.
And that's also what we see in television. 2 weeks after the lockdown was loosened up, people got back to work. I was hearing in the news that already 2 weeks after, people were handing in sick notice from stress. So people, not only having worked more than those 2 weeks, almost they get sick from it. And I think that sickness is people coming back after the lockdown, having been more in tune with what the true need of the world is, becoming more in tune with themselves, and still, of course, feeling the fear of what's to come, and then coming back into that same pace, doing the same things that are simply not going to work. And
applying the same tool,
yeah,
you can't.
no.
It's a different vibration. We're on a different level. The tools won't work again.
So for me and for us as spiritual teachers and for advisors in these conditions, I think even for us it has been quite shocking how little understanding there are from the outside world that we need to change our ways. And take a deep breath, please. You know, take some time out there to have these conversations that we're having now. How does it impact you? What do you truly feel needs to be done? And sometimes the answer is nothing. So maybe we can strengthen our teams more. Maybe we can strengthen ourselves more. Maybe we can take a time here to rebuild and empower ourselves to, when we know what is right, when the society is ready, when our clients are ready, then we will be more ready than ever.
But also to reset our goals.
Absolutely.
Our goals should not be the same goals as before. It should be to make harmony, to create a balance between our needs and the resources around us.
Absolutely.
To be more modest in what we as humans actually need to thrive. Because we don't need 7 pairs of shoes. We don't need all these accessories. We need something different. And that change has been in the young people for a long time, but now it's actually changing the entire globe. What's really, truly important? It's not to have 5 pairs of shoes. It's actually to be with people you love and you care for, and that you feel the support from the community around you. Those are true values. And that's what we have to navigate towards. And still, when I say this, I can understand that for people who normally have to produce a lot, it sounds maybe a bit futuristic or fairy tale-like. But it's not. It's our true nature. And if you are quiet enough and listen truly from inside out, you know.
Yes.
You know this.
And we cannot neglect that our planet is replying and responding with, it's thriving. And so are we just looking at it and say, wow, now there's dolphins in the water in Venice, or now the almost extinct turtles, they, breeding more than ever, or we cannot look at the entire ecosystem responding with life, not survival, but life, and say, oh, well, too bad, lockdown is done, now we just go back to business as usual.
No.
We are too intelligent as a species, and we need to realize that something has to be done. And unfortunately, I don't know the reference, but it's a Facebook post somebody made, and it said, sustainability, the most sustainable product you can have is the clothes that you're already wearing. Because it's not about, producing more sustainable. It's not about that. It's about realizing that maybe some of the things that we're looking for solutions for is already there. It's not about going out buying a new, more sustainable produced pair of shoes. If you have a pair of shoes that already works, use them. So I really agree with you on that point. And I was, it just took me a second to truly realize what that post was saying, because of course. And I think, in all aspects of life, we need to look at the resources that we have. How can we use that moving forward to benefit everybody, including our planet? And I think if people around the tables in business and the public sector, if everybody truly spent the time where we can't necessarily move forward, before we know how exactly the world is responding, exactly what the needs will be from our clients. Taking that time of stillness, but also having these conversations within the companies, around the meeting tables, at Zoom. I know many of people are still working from home or more or less trying to work more from home. But having these conversations with how can we, first of all, find a more sustainable space for ourselves and our employees, because the world will ask for that. How can we make sure that people are as peaceful, as happy as they were during lockdown? I'm not saying that a lot of people were also waiting to come back to work.
No.
But how can we use the current resources that we have, the capacities that we have, how can we use them to be at service for our clients, to be at service for the world?
And to have the courage to speak up when something not adds up. To actually sit at a meeting and say, well, now we're talking about solutions that are old-fashioned. Let's talk about solutions that are sustainable. To actually dare to be the person, as in Hans Christian Andersen, when he says, he's not wearing anything. The emperor's not wearing anything.
Yes.
To actually address the fact that greed and profit and unsustainable production, he's not wearing anything. It's not good for the world. It's not good for us. It's not good for anything.
And how do we protect our people the most? How do we protect our clients? I think courage and protection and care is three important words. Because this is about protecting those people who are not able to do it themselves, protecting ourselves, and at the same time do it, as caring as possible, and to find a new way forward that include those words. And it can't be done without courage.
No.
And hopefully, recording this conversation, hopefully having this conversation, I know that our conversation is strengthening our courage and our faith and our path and our walk forward. And so hopefully also those of you who are listening will feel that, will be with us in that space and have the courage to be new world pioneers, to truly have the courage to move forward and recreate and build a better future.
And always, always choose the light. Because light has no fear of darkness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.